What are they? Sovereign gold bonds are you investing in grams of gold through an online platform where the government issues you a sovereign gold bond. Now, what's nice about this? It's super safe because the government is issuing it to you. So maybe a company may go bankrupt, but the last person to go bankrupt will be the government. Because if the government goes bankrupt, that means all your investments are anyways in the gutter, right? So they're the last people who are going to go bankrupt. So it's pretty much the safest place to be. Apart from being the safest place, the good thing about sovereign gold bonds is even though they have an 8-year maturity, so for 8 years your money is locked away in gold, after the 5th year you can start getting out. So twice a year you will get an exit option. Twice a year is when they're paying you interest. Another interesting thing is they are paying you 2.5% interest every year. Now, if you had bought physical gold and kept it in your safe, no one was going to pay you interest on it. So any money, 1%, 2.5% in this case, is a bonus, right? You're getting paid to invest in gold. So not only are you benefiting if gold appreciates, you're also getting paid that 2.5% interest, which you wouldn't have got had you gone and bought physical gold and kept it in your safe. So that's a nice thing. Now the cherry on the cake. Let's imagine we enter the sovereign gold bond scheme at 5,000 rupees. And in 8 years' time, gold becomes 7,000 rupees. So it's gone from 5,000 to 7,000. Now in 8 years, when the government gives you back your money, they'll give you 7,000, but they will not charge you tax on that. The increment that you've made, the profit that you've made would otherwise be subjected to long-term capital gains, where here tax is exempt. So you don't pay tax on that increase in value that you're getting. You do, however, pay tax on the 2.5%. That's based on your tax slabs. And most of your as students will probably be in the lowest income category anyways, or even in the second highest. But I can't imagine you'll be paying, half that money as tax. So this is a really, really interesting form of investment. Now, these schemes only open for a period of 3 to 4 days. The last one had opened in December. And the next one has opened from 11th Jan to 15th Jan. So it's just closed. And that was series 10 that had just opened. So now series 11 will open in February. And then there'll be a series 12 in March. So only 2 more series left that the government has said they're coming out with. So if you Google the dates, you'll get them. And you can get a chance to invest in sovereign gold bonds. It's very easy. It's with a click of a button. And because sometimes things are so easy to invest in, we get a little scared because we are so used to filling out loads of paperwork, so many people asking us questions. Then we feel, okay, this is legit, I've invested something because I filled so many forms, I've, done so much paperwork, so sahi hoga. But when you have to just press 2 buttons, put in a number, it is kind of scary. But don't be scared. This is actually genuinely an interesting diversification to gold if you're looking to invest in gold. Okay, Tanvi had a question. Isn't it risky if gold depreciates after 5 years? So Tanvi, firstly, this scheme is an 8-year lock-in. So 5 years is your first exit option. And if historically you look at the prices of gold, they've never really depreciated on an 8-year horizon. They've always gone up. You've never had gold fall over 8 years. You've always had it appreciate over 8 years. Maybe in 2-3 years it's fallen, where it's fallen a couple of thousand rupees, but it's never really depreciated. In fact, I think gold was at 35,000 2 years ago. Now it's at 50. So that is some mad appreciation that has happened. Okay, so now coming to equity shares. Now, most of us would have seen or at least heard of the Sensex, heard of the BSE, NSE, all these terminologies are very familiar. Some of you, if you all are not from a finance background, then you all would have heard of shares, but it's not very clear what they are. So what is a share? Imagine a company is a cake and you cut that cake into 100 pieces. So each piece becomes a share. Similarly, if I have a company and I just break down the ownership of that company into tiny parts, then each part is a share. So when we buy and sell shares in the stock market, we're literally buying and selling our stake in the ownership of a company. So when I buy shares of Reliance, I'm actually becoming an owner of Reliance. So I don't know if you've ever heard your parents joke, I bought Bata now, I'm an owner. I'm technically an owner of Bata now because I have Bata shares. It's quite cool actually. However, being an equity shareholder doesn't actually give you a lot of powers because there are crores of shares out there. So even if you buy five, your ownership is like five upon how many ever crore shares are there. It's not a very big percentage, but what's nice about it? Say you've bought a share for 100 rupees. Okay, today let's take a random example. Let's say that, or let's make it realistic. So let's take Motherson Sumi. They are an automotive part company. Now their current share price is, I think, somewhere around 160 rupees. Now suddenly, if the automotive sector booms, and all of us are now buying cars because we don't want to take public transport because we're scared of COVID. People are buying two-wheelers, three-wheelers more because, again, people don't want to travel by common vehicles. So maybe that market is going up. With that market going up, Motherson Sumi is getting a lot more work. They're getting a lot more contracts. They're selling more of whatever they're selling. So their profitability is going up. Now, because I'm a shareholder of Motherson Sumi, my 160 rupees share can probably become worth more. It can become worth 200, 250, 300. So with every equity investment, there is a potential upside, which is massive. But don't forget, with high risk comes high returns. Remember the risk factor. High returns, high risk. That's why FDs, we say it's safe because it's low risk. So it gives you lower returns. Now, we as younger people, we can afford to take that risk because our pot of money is not very big to begin with. I'm investing 20,000, 30,000. My potential upside is my 20,000, 30,000 becomes 1 lakh. My potential downside is what? It will become 5, 6,000. Okay. When I'm 50, when I'm 60 years old, and I'm hoping that I will not have 20, 30,000 at that point. Maybe I'll have, 2, 3 crores at that point. At that point, I don't want my 2, 3 crores to become 20, 30 lakhs. That time when I'm 50, 60, I want to be safe. I would rather put that 3 crores in the bank and get 1 or 2 lakhs of interest. Then I'm okay getting low interest. Understanding the difference on why you can take on more risk when you're younger and why you should take on less risk when you're older. Because when you're older, you want a stable life. You don't want ups and downs. Whereas when you're younger, not only are your parents supporting you, your corpus is not very big to begin with. So you can take a little more risk with hoping for a potential upside. Coming back to equity shares. So in our game, equity shares are going to react to market news. You'll be able to see a buying price, at what price you can buy shares of Reliance, what price you can buy shares of HDFC. Now, hopefully everyone knows Reliance, right? Mukesh Dhirubhai Ambani, oil refineries, Jio, Reliance Retail, wants to buy Future Group, is being blocked by Amazon. Yes, we all know Reliance. Even the non-news reading people know Reliance. If you all don't know Reliance, you'll definitely know Mukesh Ambani, so it's fine. Then HDFC Bank, though we all know. I think most of us will have accounts also in HDFC Bank, especially the newbies, because when I was a newbie, when I just got married, even I made an account in HDFC Bank. Of course, now I have other banks as well, but I've picked the two companies I feel even every non-finance person will know about, right? Cool. So everyone knows Reliance, everyone knows HDFC Bank. Topic of buying and selling currency. Now, most of us who've traveled abroad at least would have noticed that when we land on foreign soil and, when we're going through immigration, after immigration, we see a Forex counter where we typically go, we exchange whatever currency we've bought for the local currency. And in a way, we've done a foreign currency transaction in that way. But foreign currency may not be invested only in that form. In fact, you could invest in foreign currency without traveling anywhere. You could do it from the ease of your home, just trading on your computer. And why would someone invest in foreign currency? To take advantage of the change in exchange rates. Why does one buy shares? With the idea that the share price is going to go up. Similarly, why would anyone invest in dollars? Because they think, okay, dollar is going to become more expensive and rupee is going to become cheaper. Now, what's interesting in India is you can't trade between pound and dollar or yen and dollar. You have to have an Indian currency pair, meaning one of the currencies has to be an Indian currency. So I can, I can buy rupees and sell dollars. I can buy dollars and sell rupees. I have to have one of the pairs being rupees. So for the purposes of our game, we're going to have USD and we're going to have pound. Now, for those who don't know how this works, think about it. If I am buying $1 for 70 rupees and dollar starts becoming more expensive, Biden has won, Trump is out, maybe the prospects of America are better, interesting things are happening in the oil market, and various trade deals are going on right now. And so America suddenly becomes very, very powerful and, has a lot going on with it. And instead of it being at 70 rupees for $1, suddenly the price of dollar becomes 78 rupees for $1. So those who've invested in dollar, they're going to benefit because each dollar is now going to become 8 rupees more, right? So your investment, if you think about it, has gone up almost 10%. From 70 rupees, it's gone to 78 rupees. So it's almost 10% up. So that is how currency trading works.